You're listening to Synergy to Synastry, the podcast where two corporate girlies called to follow their intuition take you on a journey of self-exploration through metaphysical modalities.
I'm Christine, intuitive coach and clairvoyant.
And I'm Renee, psychic intuitive and astrologer.
We're excited that you're here and honored to be your spiritual guides. If you enjoy this podcast, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen. It helps listeners find our show, plus it automatically enters you into our raffles to win a free psychic reading.
Now, let's get into the episode. Welcome back to the pod, everyone. Today, we're sharing part 2 of our interview with Vanessa Grace, who is a Radiance Coach and amazing conversationalist, I might add.
100%. I was absolutely eating up every second of this conversation and can't wait to share the rest with the listeners. So why don't we set the scene before we drop them back in?
Yeah, so we had left off with Vanessa raising this wicked profound question. What would women intuit during the PMS phase of their cycle, a time when intuition is naturally heightened, if we lived in a world without racism, sexism, ableism, classism, any ism that you can think of?
Ooh, yes, that's right. I had a few immediate responses to hearing her pose that idea, so why don't we start there? It's true. Like, what will we be channeling? And again, once I stopped spinning, right, like whatever was going on at work or my family or my relationship, once it was addressed and it was out of the way, during those weeks where I didn't have anything I was spiraling about, it was kind of clear. And I could think about things like, what do I want to accomplish? Or like, what was this big idea I had? I do notice during that week, when I kind of like bury myself in my little cave, that's when all the ideas come in for my business, my future. So I would love to know what women in the future are downloading. Really great point. Should we move on to the menstrual phase, to winter time?
You set your intentions. It's where you reflect. It's a time to contemplate the past month. What do I need to tweak? What do I need to let go of? Menstruation is symbolically, it's not just blood leaving your body and cleaving the line of your uterus. It is a spiritual, symbolic experience of part of you dying so that a new you can be reborn. And you can set an intention for what you want to let go of. And you can keep track of it or not. You're supposed to turn more inward. Summertime, ovulation is that outward energy. And menstruation is this inward energy. We're supposed to be within ourselves. We're supposed to kind of like clean out our closets during that time. Let go of the parts of our personality and self that we've outgrown so that we can allow a new version of self in with that springtime stuff and plan for the new you to emerge. If you don't allow yourself to feel all your feelings during the month, they'll accumulate in your menstruation. If you bottle them up during your menstruation will be worse. The more you rest during menstruation, the more you rise during ovulation. That radiance kick that people enjoy experiencing. Intuition is also really high during menstruation, where you can get a lot of downloads about what you're supposed to be doing. You are supposed to take zero action on them during menstruation. You just receive. Don't do a fucking thing. And then you plan them during spring, and then you do them during ovulation and the beginning of luteal. And it might be a big thing, so it might take 3 or 4 or 5 cycles. What you eat influences the hormonal balances, which I know that you had talked about on a previous episode. Your capacity to exercise is different in every one of these phases. Your personality is different in every single one of these phases. Your partner is with a different person. Your child is being mothered by a different person. Your coworkers are with a different person. You are a different person. You have different talents. I say that each phase has a superpower, And why would you try and do a follicular superpower during the luteal? Bitch, just do the follicular superpowers during follicular. Just keep pushing. Do it the way that it was planned. I'm sorry. Why don't you plan it around the way my body exists? I can't change that. We can change how we make the plan.
This gives so many of us permission to just be who we are and feel how we're feeling. I work out with a personal trainer. Carlos, if you're listening, every time before we work out, I'll be like, moderate today, low, I just need to stretch and do mobility, or I feel good, let's do high intensity. Because I never wanted to bring up to him, like, here's where I am during my cycle. One session he asked me, he was like, I was doing research about women's cycles. Carlos is a gem, like, truly. And I was like, I've always wanted to talk to you about it, but I don't want to be like so explicit with you. But I feel like the way we've sort of danced around it kind of works. Let's do a moderate workout. Let's do a high intensity workout. We can change the plan. We don't have to train intense every time I go to the gym.
Just taking a moment. We have the moon cycles. We have an episode each season where we discuss the eclipse phases. We talked in season 1 about understanding the moon. That's on a monthly cycle. That's on a 6-month cycle. And then you have the seasonal cycle. That's quarterly. Each season has a different energy to it. And the fact that people who ovulate, who menstruate, we can do all of the above that you do in a month, that you do in 6 months, that you do in a year, doing that every month. And hello, we haven't even talked about this when people's cycles link up with each other. So cool. And you were talking about this idea of like having your own personal rebirth every single month. That's so powerful. I am a new person in each of these phases. I am made up of 4 people. And every single month, those 4 people get to go on their own adventures, and we can all work together as a team. And we can get done what we need to for healing, for growth, for ambition, for trust.
Capitalism wants us to be in spring and ovulation, or follicular and ovulation all the time. But
Right.
there is so much value in resting because you can't actually produce until you rest. I still battle with that. Battle is the wrong word. I'm trying to use a softer word. I still sometimes struggle to acknowledge the value of that.
It's infused in our culture that we have, oh, what are you on your period? Because you're crying and you're angry and you're everything that you just mapped out was, okay, we're speaking the truth. We're having the most divine insights during the PMS and the menstruation phases when there is this stereotype, this shaming of women for crying, for being angry, for being honest. And you know what's happening. And I can speak as someone who has experienced this as well. I have my own journey that I have been on with being in touch with my emotions because I was very emotional as a kid. And then I kind of shut that off because I had negative feedback from that. And so now I have been slowly in the unlearning journey. And for a very long time, if I cried at all, ever, it was always during one of those 2 phases. And it would be about something really silly. And 10 minutes later, I don't even know why I was upset about that. And that's because it's exactly what you said. We have built up emotions that we have to release. It has to exit your body. And if all we're doing the other, 29 out of 30 days is holding things in, not speaking our truth in society as women, being made to take up less space, be smaller, don't talk as much, don't say this, don't do that, don't be in charge. It's been shamed out of us to express. We're like combusting emotionally in these small moments, even if it is in winter and we are kind of in the privacy of our own home and hibernating. But that's not really a healthy, balanced way to live. We want to be able to express and share and connect to our emotions any day of the year and not just during those certain times.
I will say that actually the quickest way to be in your divine feminine is to allow all the emotions, to just let them flow. Once they're flowing, it's like the energy is flowing through you. And then once that vibration is through you and you're done with it, then you can move on. It's like truth is happening. The emotion is just the truth of the moment. And so you're fully in the moment.
I feel like this is such like an empowered note to end on.
Vanessa, you're good. Love this conversation. This has been so fantastic. So we've mentioned it a little bit already, and we're going to include all these links in the show notes. But where can people find you?
Website, soulamplified.org. Podcast, Soul Amplified Podcast. Instagram, Soul Amplified. I have other social medias. I'm never on them. Like, I tried them and it was like, nah.
I mean, we've had that conversation as well, even in deciding where do we want this podcast to live, because there's so much tectonic movement in how people are viewing social media and like what's a safe space to be and, you know, corporations and all this other stuff.
One of the links that I'm leaving with you guys is a gift for everyone, the Womb Initiation Workbook. This is a workbook that I created that is bringing you through re-remembering your first period. I feel like revisiting your first period and the experiences of your first period, how did you incorporate that into defining self or a woman or like whatever the definition is for you? What do you want to shift that experience to? And kind of reframing it, like, what would you like to give to your inner self, inner child, inner teenager? What would you give them now? What kind of experience would you want them to have now? And kind of rewriting it. When you receive that email to you, it's in an email and then you can like download the workbook. There's links to some of my podcast episodes. I did a special podcast interview series where I interviewed 8 people about their very first period. There are amazing experiences and there are really traumatic experiences and everything in between. There is a person who is transgender male, people from every gender available. It was just really fascinating to witness the variety of people's first period experiences and how much it actually informed them. It became this interview series discussion of what their relationship with their period was, what their relationship was and is with their womb, if they have like medical conditions, how they feel about their womb space now. And it's all over the board. So you will probably see yourself in there. And it was really eye-opening. The Womb Initiation Workbook would be helpful for anybody to just kind of dip their toe into the process. It does automatically add you to my email list. And if that excites you, yay! If it doesn't excite you, but you want the workbook, it's real easy if you don't want to be on my email list. There's an unsubscribe button at the bottom. I never want you to be on my email list if you don't want that. I fully respect that. I only want you to be there if you want to be there. I do spiritual mentoring, one-on-one coaching, group programs. I run in-person events, sometimes individual sessions with me for tarot or for energy healing of different kinds. So,
last thing we have to plug is the reason why Vanessa is even on this podcast, which is that we met because we both became co-authors of 33 co-authors for this book about spiritual awakenings. And we connected because all of us were starting to network with each other. And then I was on Vanessa's podcast. When this comes out, it'll be, many months ago. And so we've been in conversation, really hit it off, and then wanted to have her come on here and connect with the audience. But if you are interested in purchasing this book, Vanessa and I each have our own chapters that we wrote about our spiritual awakening. So for my chapter, some of it I've talked about on this podcast, but I have many other details that I have not shared. And then obviously you can hear Vanessa's story because we didn't dive into that fully today. And we will include links where you can purchase in hardcover, paperback, ebook.
I will be buying the book because I want to read both of your chapters.
Yay.
Even though I know Renee very well, I know there's going to be stuff in there that I wasn't aware of. So as a fan of them both, I'll be buying it, and I encourage the listener to do the same. And Vanessa, I just want to thank you for your time and all your freebies for the listener today. It was such a pleasure. I mean, we've only been chatting for an hour and a half, and I feel like I've learned so much. Here we are at the dream segment. For this week's dream, let me start from the beginning.
Fell asleep.
I took my CBD melatonin. I got in bed with a book. No. I think for the entirety of this season, the listeners have heard me talk about finding a W-2 job so I have steady income so that I can keep working on this intuitive business and the podcast, etc. So the dream that I'm highlighting today is related to that because I had a dream that I met all the new people I would work with. The good news is I didn't realize how much I would like them or how well we would all get along. Someone said, the offer is on its way and coming soon and not to worry. That dream to me was not about symbolism so much as a message that was being passed on to me because of course it's in the back of my head. Is this really going to come through? It's been months now, etc., etc. So I'm going to take this as a message. This is why we encourage you to write down your dreams and such because you may get a message and you may not remember it. So if I hadn't written down that someone told me the offer's on its way and not to worry, I don't know that I would have remembered it, but I'm glad that I wrote it down because now I can confirm that I don't need to worry.
And it's also fun with those kinds of dreams. When you write it down and it's dated, let's say you do in fact get the job offer and you find out when it was being discussed. Like I've had that before where I had a dream that I found out that somebody I grew up with was pregnant and that she announced on social media. And then I found out a few months later that she was pregnant and her due date was exactly 9 months from the day I had the dream.
That is wild.
Which suggests that she was in the process of conception when I had the dream. Because then you announce it a few months later. The baby ended up being preemie, so they weren't even born on that date, but funny, right?
That's actually hysterical. Now that we're done with talking about copulating, tell us about your dream.
My dream had nothing to do with that. The dream that I selected for today's episode, I was at a dinner party at someone's house. Not quite sure who it was. I was in the kitchen area and it was a self-serve buffet type situation. We had all of the food out and somebody made a comment, oh, be careful in touching the containers. They're really hot. You don't want to burn yourself. And then I was chatting with people and I kind of got distracted. And then it was my turn to fill my plate. And all of a sudden I saw there was hardly any food left. So I barely even had enough to fill my plate or have much of anything. So symbolism-wise, a dinner party can suggest some sort of longing for community or connection. Buffets symbolize abundance and opportunity. The hot containers and being cautious about touching them could be alluding to emotional regulation or self-protection. So it's like self-preservation. Not having enough food represents dissatisfaction with what you have or a scarcity mindset. So opposite of a buffet is there's an abundance of food. So you feel abundant, you have opportunity, and the lack of food, you feel a sense of scarcity. My interpretation of this dream was a message about having desire to connect with others and receive opportunities and to expand, but being preoccupied with keeping myself regulated and in check and focused on the things that I'm doing. Clearly, I was distracted at one point in my own things, and I was missing the access to the plethora of food and opportunities. And then as a result, I'm then left with a scarcity mindset. Another interpretation that I thought of, because I was looking at it from the bird's eye, what happened in this dream? I wanted to get food. I couldn't because it was hot. And then I couldn't because it was all gone. So I had these multiple barriers to receiving the opportunities and the abundance based on things of my own doing. Self-imposed blocks or sabotage or being overly cautious. I don't know specifically 100% what this was applying to. The only thing I can think of is keeping myself too busy or wanting to call opportunities in, but then actually inadvertently having blocks with my business or money in general or relationships.
It made me think of like mind, body, spirit connection. You're behaving in a way physically for what you want, but your brain still hasn't gotten on board the process of growth, right? Like,
Right.
Okay, we got like 2 out of 3 parts of ourselves on board. Now we just need to chat with the mind a little bit. You've done all the things, you've manifested, it's sitting there. Now you just got to believe.
No, I like that interpretation. Got to change my perspective.
So easy. So easy.
I know. Like, I don't think I'm walking around with the scarcity mindset, but clearly
No.
there's things that pop in every once in a while. I, launch this service or that product or whatever it is. And then there's a little part that whispers in the back of your head, what if nobody books? What if nobody buys it? I put in all that work for nothing. So I know I have a little bit of that, and maybe that's all it's alluding to.
I'm actively working on it as well. So we all have it. I think it's cool that like your support team is like, hey, Renee, focus here.
Right. Fill up your plate. Don't let other people eat first.
Don't worry about it being too hot. It's going to cool off.
Fan it with your napkin or your hand, and then you can start eating. But get the food, load up on your plate. Like literally in the dream, Christine, one of the things I had written was somebody said, oh, get some of the corn. And I looked over and there was a plate and it had like a few kernels on it.
That would be a nightmare for me.
Yeah. It's just like, okay, I'm just like, this is just scraps here. Everyone else is over at the table. Nobody offered to give me some of their food. They all had full plates.
What's that shit about?
It's time for the week ahead reading, and Vanessa is going to be providing it.
Dun, da, da, da!
So Vanessa is going to be doing a tarot reading, so you can learn what you need to know for when this episode comes out.
That's so exciting.
Why?
What's the day after my birthday?
No way.
Are you also a
Wait.
Virgo?
Bitch, no.
Is this why I love you? I'm September 2nd.
We talked about it briefly when I was on her podcast because there was things she was saying and I was like, this feels like it's Virgo stuff. I feel like we're on the same page. So yeah, 3 Virgos again.
Oh my God, I love it. I love that we keep attracting the Virgos.
So whenever you're ready, we'll just mute and let you go.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay. I have pulled 3 cards from a deck called This Might Hurt by Isabella Rodman. The cards are the 4 of Pentacles. This one actually just has the infinity symbol on it, with a person struggling with the wolf and then a person loving the wolf. And then we've got the 6 of Swords. I tend to interpret tarot along with my guides. I'm not a person who reads tarot with reversals. I'm not a person who reads tarot like this is the only interpretation of the card. It's more like a artistic interpretation of what the guides want you to know. I'm feeling an energy of groundedness with the 4 of Pentacles, but also a sense of tiredness. You're ready to let something go, but there's this strain of fear with it. And that kind of makes sense with the fall energy. You're ready to sink into winter and rest, but there's this, I don't want to let go of the fun of the summer or a project that I'm doing. Like, it's individual for you. There's this thing that you want to hold on to still. And maybe it's just a part of your personality that's ready to evolve away. And that's coming through more strongly. I think that's what it is for more of you. For some of you, it's like a project that you need to wrap up, but that you're having so much fun with it, you don't want it to end. You're identifying with it too much as part of your personality. You're more than the project, and you don't know how to be self without it, and you need to evolve into that to grow. And it actually involves loving yourself, accepting that you're lovable for who you are. And really, honey, you are. So I'm just sending down some loving energy to you right now, and you can just accept that energy from me right now if you want, from divine love. The next card is this inner struggle within you of like being able to let go of this project or let go of that summer energy or let go of that part of yourself. But like I said, it's this struggle with this wolf. It's a woman who's fighting with the wolf, and then on the top, and then on the bottom, she's snuggling with the wolf. And so it's like you're fighting with yourself, and then you're loving yourself, and then you're fighting with yourself, and then you're loving yourself. Hearing the voices of the people who would criticize us when we were younger, that inner child messages that we would get, and then we keep repeating them to ourselves without realizing that they're not our own voice. They're voices of people who were also in pain and they were repeating their pain to us, but we internalize it as our own voice. It's not actually our own voice. We can let it go. You don't have to hold on to other people's pain. Recognize that when you're repeating voices inside your head that are painful, are those people that you admire? Are those people that you want to emulate? Are those people that you want to be like? Even if they're people who raised you, that loved you in the way that they knew how, do you want to be them? And if the answer is no, that you don't need their voice in your head, they can exist as a point of reference about how to be different. And their voice can exist without controlling your nervous system and your emotions. And you can allow the energy of that love in, and allow the love in to stretch your heart wider. It's just your ability to love yourself more that is hampering the next evolution of your growth. It's actually painful to stretch your heart. I've done it and I've been doing it and I'll continue to do it. It actually physically hurts when I stretch my heart, but it's actually really important to allow it to happen, because the other side of that means more love for yourself, which is not selfish. It is more capacity to do good for self, which means more capacity to be healthy and more capacity to be in healthy relationships with other people and not pass on ick. And then the last card is the Six of Swords, which is about crossing over. This person is crossing over in a boat in waters that are slightly choppy, but the waters that they're heading into are clear. And they're heading into sun, and there actually are trees on the side of the water, and the trees are amber like autumn, which is the season that we're heading into. And there is a variety of swords at the top, knives of all different kinds. And so it's like you have options, you have choices about who you become. The path is not written in stone. You can become who you want to be, and you can select where you put this love that you're expanding into and how you expand into that love. I love this deck. It's not a tarot deck. It's called Big Pussy Energy. Honoring the unique self mantra is the card that I pulled. There's no one else in the world like you. Let yourself be seen. Today's mantra: I am my own unique force. I am never before, and I am never again.
It was so poignant with today's session. And we came into today's session not knowing how it was going to go or where it was going to go. And that was the energy that guided us. And sure enough, everything's been tied up together, every thread with like the most perfect bow. And I want the Big Pussy Energy Oracle deck.
I mean, who doesn't?
BPE, ladies. Incredible.
I just was really enjoying listening to how you were explaining the reading and the messages coming through. I was looking over at Christine, and she's like, she had her hands over her heart. Like she was just like, oh, like I love this. So that was kind of making me laugh. It did echo a little bit of what we talked about today, but also what you were sharing, that it's like a summer, fall, because that's the time we're going to be at the fall equinox. And we mentioned earlier, talking about the seasons, so our own personal seasons with our menstrual cycle, but the regular season, working with the energy of fall, releasing summer, because we can't be in summer forever.
Thank you for asking me to do this reading, because I actually don't normally do a reading for a group.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, we'll see how it goes. I'm intrigued.
This was so fun.
This was amazing. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yay! Thanks for listening. If you'd like to learn more, the resources we used to prepare for this episode are listed in the show notes.
If you're curious to develop your intuition, we've partnered with the Nirvana Be Light program to give our listeners a $500 discount on tuition fees. Email us for more details and we'll connect you with the founder, Deganit Noor.
Want to connect with us? You can reach me, Christine, at Channeled by Christine with 1 L on Instagram.
And you can reach me, Renee, at _read by Renee, or connect with us both via email at synergytosynastry@gmail.com.
Keep your spirit curious and your aura sparkling.
We'll see you when the stars next align.
I wonder how close you are with this person that you intuitive, the compilation going on. Compilation?
Are you trying to talk about the pregnancy?
You were saying that they were conceiving.
Oh, no, there
Yeah.
was another word. What did you say?
Copulate.
Oh, okay. No.
Sorry. I've been watching Love Island, so my vocabulary is shit right now.